With E3 being cancelled this year due to the fact that no one can actually go anywhere, all the major developers have resorted to hosting their own digital events in order to showcase all the big projects that they are working on. Companies like EA and Ubisoft are big enough that they can host their own personal events, Microsoft and Sony are busy prepping their new consoles for release this holiday season, and aside from a few Pokemon related videos, Nintendo have been keeping relatively quiet. But what about all those smaller game companies that are too small to have their own presentations, but too big to jump in on any of the indie showcases? Well, as it turns out, they all decide to get together to present their own digital extravaganza that they call the New Game Plus Expo. Broadcasting live exclusively on Twitch, the show promises to feature dozens of games and new announcements from a variety of different game developers from all over Japan and the United States, including SNK, Gung Ho, Koei Tecmo, WayForward, and Sega! In fact, they have a huge 9-hour stream prepared. Wait a minute, 9 hours? Oh my goodness, EA, I think I owe you an apology. To save my sanity, I'm only going to be covering the initial showcase that's presented at the start of the stream, and live under the assumption that everything else that happens afterwards is just each company giving a more in-depth look at their titles. Kinda like the Greenhouse segments following Nintendo's events. Actually, that's not the only comparison to Nintendo that I can make here, as the presentation is structured in a manner similar to Nintendo's Direct shows, with game after game after game being shown in a constant stream. However, this proves to be one of the big downfalls of this showcase. Yeah, a bit of a spoiler for the end of this video, but I kinda felt disappointed with what I'd seen. I'll get into more of that in a bit, but for now, let's take a look at a few highlights. Very near the beginning of the show, we get a heartfelt message from No More Heroes creator and crazy uncle figure, Suda51, with what appears to be a little sneaky peek of No More Heroes' free gameplay, though we didn't get to see much of it as it was mostly obscured by his head. It's nice to see that the guy is staying positive despite all that's happening in the world, and his speech really helps to instill a sense of hope for the future of the gaming industry. As for the games on offer, Tin and Kuna looks like a very cute game, a 3D puzzle platformer where you play as an armadillo called Kuna who's on his way to save his buddy Tin. It's great to see these types of games making a comeback as they were so popular back in the late 90s. SNK have a lot to celebrate as this year marks the 30th anniversary of their Neo Geo brand of consoles, and they've got a few treats to share with us as well. The Neo Geo Pocket Color selection is coming to the Nintendo Switch and will bring with it several Neo Geo Pocket Color games released for the first time in over 20 years. They even emulated the look of the Neo Geo Pocket on screen in various decals. It's like a console within a console. I wish there was a word I could use to describe that. The hell was that? But that's not all from SNK Celebrations, as they're also releasing a Samurai Shodown Neo Geo collection, featuring a total of 7 games from their classic fighting game franchise, including the secret never before released Samurai Shodown 5 Perfect. It also features the usual collection bonuses including artwork, soundtrack and videos, and will boast an online multiplayer as well. This makes for a nice collection for longtime fans. Oh, and apparently the Warden character from For Honor is now a DLC character for the latest Shodown game. That's cool, I guess. Okay, so what's this Fight Crab game all about then? Probably just some aquatic Smash Bros clone or something. Wait, does that crab have a sword? Is that a kunai? Oh my god, a literal crab hammer! Now they have electric powers? That crab has a chainsaw! Is he riding a frickin' sea lion? Giant enemy crab, hit him with the rockets! Lightsabers! These crabs have lightsabers! What the hell did I just watch? And how do I get in on it? I don't think anything can top that. And really there was nothing else that could even come close. There's a new Harvest Moon game. Okay, cool. Legend of Heroes 4? Again, cool. Billion Road? It kinda looks like Mario Party meets Monopoly, which I think they already did. Guilty Gear Strive? Okay, admittedly, that is some stellar animation. Danganronpa celebrates their 10th anniversary. Congrats. Catherine is coming to the Switch? Alright. An Idol Manager game? Actually, that does look like an interesting premise. Escape from Asura? Has the shortest trailer I've ever seen in my life. Then after a speed round of new games, they show off the latest installment of the E-series, and then that was it. Show's over. I mean, I have to say, I felt kinda let down. I thought there was going to be a massive earth-shattering announcement that would shock the gaming world, but there wasn't really anything of the sort. At best you could say that the No More Heroes 3 tease was a big deal, but there was hardly anything to make out. Honestly, this whole presentation left me rather disappointed. But I think that's on me. I wouldn't have bet that a lot of people tuned into New Game Plus Expo because they were hoping that Atlus would announce that Persona 6 was in development, or that Sega would give us some information about what plans they have for Sonic ahead of his 30th anniversary next year. And those same fans ultimately left with nothing, ready to call the show a complete flop, even though Sega and Atlus were under no obligation to make such announcements. I'll admit I was hoping for some Sonic news, and while I'm sad that there wasn't any, It doesn't mean that I should hate on an entire show just because I didn't get what I was hoping for. It's not a bad thing to have predictions on what you want to see during a show, as long as you remember that it isn't the end of the world if, and most likely when, they fail to come true. As it turns out, this show didn't really hold that much for me, but a few things did pique my interest, and I'm sure there are many others out there who are over the moon to see a new Bloodstained game, or Void that. If you're someone who's walking away from this showcase with a whole list of new games to try, I couldn't be happier for you. It may not be the sort of thing I'm into, but if you got what you came for, then I guess it did its job. And if you're someone who's leaving with absolutely nothing to talk about, I don't think you really heard me. There were crabs fighting with lightsabers!